It's pecan. I say pecan.
Is it like almond or almond?
Almond.
Like somebody said it's like almond if it's like on the tree, and then when it falls off the tree, it's like almond.
That's some real farmer shit.
That is some deep ass farmer
Northern
shit.
California farmer definition.
Yeah, totally.
Definitely.
All right. So we're going to dive in here, you guys. Thanks for joining us on a Sunday morning. We haven't done this, since what? February of this year, I think. So it's always fun, but we wanted to do a little like VIP version where we got not only our Venus members, but like Coach Glitter's nutrition coaching clients, Alicia's coaching clients, mine, everybody together. And just so it was more like VIP status, like you guys submitted some questions. We wanted to share with you some stuff that we hope helps you through the holidays. Before we dive in, if you're not already muted, just check to make sure that you're muted. I can kind of see everybody. I think everybody's good there. And then if you're on a desktop or a laptop, in the right-hand corner, there's like a little Rubik's Cube looking thing. If you hit that, you'll be able to see everybody in the chat, and then kind of see everybody's faces and all that. Or you could just play around with it and just have, I think our heads up there. But okay, so we're going to dive in. Let's introduce you. So some of you may not formally know the other coaches on staff. So we have Coach Glitter. So Glitter, raise your hand.
Hi.
Yes. Now, who here is on Team Glitter? I know some of you your videos aren't on, but who raise your hand? We have,
even if we can't see you, you can raise your hand.
Can't see you. I know. Raise your hand in the dark. Yep. And then Coach Ish. So Alicia, who's on Alicia's team. Anybody in here yet? No one's rolled in.
Miss Norik.
Yeah.
Here.
I love it. And then we also have Coach Monica, who works as a trainer on staff. Monica, wave to everybody looking all cute over there at your kitchen table. Hello. And then who trains at Venus? Raise your hand. We got Kelly. Don't raise your hand. You got to be at 10 and 2 on the wheel there, friend. So we have lots. And then I forgot Team Boss Bitch, who's on my team.
Oh,
we got some of you over there too. All right. So what's that?
That's all of us.
That's all of y'all. That is true. That is true. So, it wouldn't be me without me getting a selfie with all my friends. So make sure you wave right now. Let's see, where are we at? Come on. This is going to be terrible, y'all. Okay. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay. Perfect. If it's not on the gram, it didn't happen.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
It gives me flashbacks to quarantine in my garage, in my living room.
So for those of you just joining in, hi, Anna. Now I can see Anna's face and the other Annas coming in. We did virtual classes during quarantine for how many months?
I don't even know.
I think it wasn't that long, but it felt like a long time.
I think everything in that era felt like eternity.
Yes.
So we were like crazy. We'd wake up, we would hold like virtual group classes in our living room. And it was great for what it was. We appreciated every single solitary soul that came along with us for that experiment. So, okay. So what we're going to do today, I'm going to give you like a rough outline because I like organization. So you know what to expect. So first we're going to go through a few of the questions that came in. So when you registered through Zoom, you were able to plug in some questions, maybe that particularly you wanted answered. So we cherry picked a few of those to kind of get the ball rolling with just some nutrition training type of questions. So we'll do that. So thank you for those that submitted questions. Then we're going to dive into all of our hints and tips with like holiday eating. I've got a couple, the coaches also have a couple as well. And then we're going to talk about, I created a little challenge board. So Alicia's very much likes to check shit off a list. And so when I told her that, she was like super excited. And we've done this multiple times in the past. So who here is like a list person? Like, give me a list. Okay, great. And let me just check some shit off and I'll feel like I really did some things today. So we have something that's fun for you guys to participate in, and it'll just kind of keep you going with momentum, feeling like, okay, I'm doing something maybe every day that isn't just getting on the scale and saying this is working or this isn't working, but it's helping me kind of glue all of my healthy lifestyle things together with just little habit changes and things and fun things that may be outside the box. You guys will see in a minute. And then at the end, I'll talk about upcoming things that are going to be going on for Venus. So for those of you that aren't in the area, if you want to like check out, then you can stick around too. And then we'll do like a last minute Q&A. So in that chat box, if there's something that you think about, you can send me a question directly. You can post it in there to the group. If you want to remain anonymous, you can send it directly to me. I won't mention who it is, and we can riff like that at the end. So one of the questions that came in, and I'll just keep names anonymous, but somebody had asked, is there such thing as a free item that I can munch on without counting while my family has a real binge worthy items, right? So like, you're probably at a feast of some kind, or you're doing something and you don't want to partake in like the chips, the salsa, the cookies, like the smorgasbord of like finger foods that are like the trap and going to be adding up really quick. So these are not going to be fun by any means. Let me just tell you already, they're going to be sad, calorie-free foods, but it's going to keep you busy and your hand out the cookie jar or out of the chips and salsa tray. So these are pretty much staples. If anyone else, this is like a collective mind, like collective of the minds. So this is essentially like a little bit of a mastermind. So if there's something that I'm forgetting and you're like, hey, this is also really good, plug it in the chat box. Like we can all help each other and learn from each other here. So I highly encourage that. So some go-tos that are super easy are cucumbers. They're basically made of entirely out of water. Okay. Celery, boo. I don't know why anybody eats celery, but if that's your jam, eat some celery.
Dirt.
Okay?
It's dirt.
It's dirt. It's stringy dirt water. That's what I call it. Gets all up in your teeth, but it's sometimes, that's just going to keep you busy. It's kind of like that mouth, just like you have to have something going to like keep your brain going and out of the cookie jar. So celery without the peanut butter. Adding shredded lettuce to everything. So you have like a lot of volume in whatever it is that you're eating. Some other things that aren't necessarily food items that I found incredibly helpful when I'm in a dieting phase. And this is coming from somebody who's actually in a dieting phase in this group and going to be competing earlier in the year. So something that I use a lot of is seltzer water or sparkling water, diet soda. Another thing that I do is I'll use like hot tea or decaf coffee and just kind of keep fluids like top of mind and a lot of fluids that aren't just water. And then last but not least, well, jicama is another really good one. I don't know if anybody likes jicama, but I love that. It's like, I don't know. How would you, it's like a starchy, it's not even starchy. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know if it's a fruit, if it's a vegetable. I should know this.
Almost like a potato type of feel.
I know Tanya's like, I know what it is. Tell us, Tanya.
I consider it a potato that is acceptable to eat raw.
Perfect.
Yes.
I love that description. So I love it with tahine. I don't know if you guys know what tahine is, but it's like a seasoning of some kind that's like kind of tart and it just kind of gets you like right here. But jicama, I will just have jicama on hand as well. And then, basically any green veggie is, you can't go wrong with that. Green zucchini, I will even eat raw too. But what I was going to say is last but not least, if you're feeling like that snacksident is going to happen or it's coming on and you just want to kind of like cut it in its tracks, like two things. One, a very, very minty gum popped in your mouth. And or two, go brush your teeth. Like that's a staple here in our household. Like my youngest son will just be like, I'm brushing my teeth. That means I'm done. And so we just know like it signals the brain that you're done because you don't want to be eating like milk chocolate after you just like Listerine your mouth out, right? That's nasty. So that was one question that came in. Any other suggestions? Anybody that maybe has some that I forgot? Oh, pickles. Yeah, pickles are great too. That's also another one. Pickles are like 5 calories maybe. And then you have that, like if you're a tart person and you like to have like that sour taste, pickles are great.
So take a nap. Just to dive into this though, it's like, so if you're going out to Mexican food and there is a basket of chips in front of you, you're going to eat the chips.
Some chips.
Stop it. So You can order a side of cucumbers and use them as your chips. I've
Oh, I
done
forgot.
this. Yes.
That's your hack. We need to do that.
Yeah, we need to stop having baskets of chips.
Yeah,
Okay.
we need to bring that back.
With no baskets of chips for 4 weeks, right? Until we get to the real Mexican chips.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
But I'm like
sugar-
pre-gaming for the Mexican chips, you know?
Sugar-free Jello gelatin is another one that you can have in your back pocket for a little bit. So another thing too that is deep in prep is sugar, Splenda and cinnamon on your cucumbers.
Or stevia and cinnamon. Yeah.
Or stevia, yeah, whatever. So it's sweet. It sounds weird, but cucumbers literally take on whatever taste you put on them. So.
Yeah, totally. Alicia, did you ever do that? Did you ever do the sweet cucumbers?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
If anything, pickles. I started to like pickles in my prep, but sugar-free popsicles too.
Oh,
yes.
They make 40-calorie chocolate ones, and
Mhm.
then the fun flavors that are like 15 calories. They really don't have any
Yeah.
calories.
Yeah.
Those
Perfect.
are great.
Great additions. I love that. Okay. So Alicia, you had a couple questions that you chose that you wanted to answer. Do you want to start with whichever one out of the two? And then let's see, and then Amanda, I'll have you go. So these were some cues that came in, some questions.
Sure. Okay. So while we're kind of on the subject of like dieting-ish, while in a maintenance, what is the most important consistent thing to focus on? The scale, lifting, or diet? Which those are all three important things. They all have kind of a level of importance, at least for me anyways. But I think the scale for sure, it should be a focus, but you're trying to maintain. So you're probably going to be within like 2 to 4-ish pounds of like your scale weight, right? Some people can get kind of squirrely looking at the scale. If you don't have that, like, oh, I'm supposed to be dropping body fat, or, oh, the scale's supposed to be going down, the scale's supposed to be going up. Where do you lie in that, right? That's our maintenance phase. So I really think focusing on diet. So focusing, just don't get squirrely with that. Stay focused on what you're supposed to eat day in and day out, and not just like having these weird like binge moments, or really trying to restrict, like, oh, I was bad the other day, like, oh, I need to scale it back. Stick to what and focus on that consistency with your diet. Now, lifting is important too, because you can continue getting stronger, building muscle in a maintenance phase for sure.
So can I just pause you right there? Because I know like maintenance phase is a word that gets thrown around a lot in like the bodybuilding world. And I know some people are still very like, what does that even mean? And I feel like one of the main intentions for this call today is so that way we all understand, like, right now is not the time that you should be like crazy dieting, right? For most folks, like, you shouldn't be in this extreme deficit right now. And now everybody's situations are different. Some girls are getting ready to go into prep, but like Alicia's saying right now is like, let's just maintain without falling off the deep end one way or another, or super restricting to then binge. And that's not to say that you're not going to still experience results. And one point that I have coming up here, that's to her point, is that summer bodies, like your tone sculpted shaped summer body, is built in the winter, right? This is when you should be training hard, utilizing the food, that maybe the little bit of excess calories that you have, or the maintenance calories, to be laying down that muscle tissue, because muscle's not built out of thin air. It's not built when you're like at 1,000 calories or 1,300 calories for most people. It's going to be when you're in that maintenance realm, and you can be doing some body recomposition. So yeah, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to kind of elaborate on that point.
Yeah. And lifting should definitely be a forefront at your like so-called maintenance phase, because you have enough food to where your body is happy, right? You're not in an extreme deficit to where you can still push heavy, you can get stronger, and build some of that muscle that in the summer, like, you want to drop some body fat, have a nice little weight loss goal. Absolutely. And this is where that pays off. This is where your body's going to be built.
Yep.
And then the scale, keeping that pretty relative within like a few pounds just because things fluctuate, your sodium, your sleep. I wouldn't focus on the scale day in and day out. Don't jump on that thing daily, especially if you find that it's really starting to mess with you in your head and in your mind. Oh, I woke up a pound heavier. That could be anything.
Yeah.
Stick to a few days and get that average and just know like you're on the right track and make sure you're not going one way or another.
For
there.
sure. Anybody have questions about that? Like, does that make sense? Or we, need any more any clarifying questions? We really just want you guys to know, like, dieting 365 is not ideal. Like, we don't even do it. Professional bodybuilders don't do it when their job is to look as shredded as possible on stage. That's not something that's like sustainable or maintainable. And there's a happy medium, I think, for people to walk around feeling really good and looking lean. And I feel like, like we do a pretty good job about staying within that realm where we feel like we look athletic, we look strong, we look fit, we can lift. We have some enjoyment with our food, but we're not, we're not super shredded, and we're not, allowing like our BMI to get too high or getting unhealthy. So we've found that spot, but it takes time and practice. And, that's something that we work with our nutrition clients on, is like, you can't be dieting all the time. So let's do these like mini cuts. Like Alicia's in a mini cut right now, and we're doing these like periodically throughout the year. And that way your metabolism doesn't just completely like tank out on you, and it can keep up with this sort of ebb and flow, which works fantastically for us, on the West Coast, because, sweater season's here, and, we're going to be cold, and we can, feel a little more comfortable in our sweatpants.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I feel like us as women are just so almost conditioned from a young age to really think like, oh, these last 10 pounds, like got to be constantly in a weight loss phase. We're never happy with our body, that sort of thing. And just taking that out of the picture, like, let's be happy with right now what we've got. We're going to go into the holidays. Let's not gain 10 more pounds. Let's try to maintain what we have going right now, be happy with it. And then start of the year, get back a little bit on your shit. We'll diet it down a little bit.
Right.
It doesn't all have to happen right now.
Right. Love that. And even if you have, if you're like, well, I've got 100 pounds to lose, or I've got 50 pounds to lose, like, shouldn't I be dieting all the way until I lose those pounds? There's going to be a point of diminishing returns. And that's why we say like diet cycling is super important. And if you've worked with any one of us, you will know on your nutrition, like, we don't have you drilling down a diet until you get to that 50 pounds. Like, there are some diet breaks in there. We'll take some mini breaks, or if you have vacations, we work within that to make sure that we're not just strict all the way through. So good one. All right. Amanda.
Hi.
Hi. What did you want to answer for our friends today?
Okay. So since we're talking about nutrition and maintenance phase and all of that, the question that I had was, how do you stop the voice? Hold on. I don't want to say this wrong. I want to say, how do you stop the voice in my head that tells me it's okay to eat the bad food when in fact it's not? So I think somebody was in my head when they asked this question.
Why were you having that conversation too?
I ask myself this all the time. Okay. So this is technically what it's going to be, is a practice. All right. This is not easy. Obviously, that's why, you want to start learning about nutrition and all of that thing. But ultimately, it's okay to say no to yourself.
I don't like that. I'm just kidding.
I'm
kidding, but I'm not
Okay.
kidding.
But yes, so I think that's one of the hardest things is it's okay to say no. It's also okay to kind of like reassess. I think in reality, what we need to start thinking about is not if it's a good or a bad food. It's how am I going to feel after I eat this food?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
If you're gonna like flex that no muscle, yes. So it's really just more or less just being in tune with what your goal is and being like, okay, this is my goal, but I also want to feel good. So if not gonna lie, if you're gonna be like eating out with like Burger King and Jack in the Box tacos, like you're not going to be as ready and willing to get up and go to, your workout the next day. Like, not going to lie, let's be honest. Me and Diane said no last night.
That was hard, yo.
Okay. We were
Practice
like,
saying
"Oh,"
no.
we did. We practiced very good. We said no. But ultimately, if you like the foods that you're eating, whether they be like super clean or just like more of a macro boss healthy, that's ultimately your goal. You want to be eating the foods that you like. So you're not lurking and searching for the quote unquote bad foods. You need to be okay with that. And then, so Claire's asking, what about BLTs? How do you say no to just a bite? So for me, a bite ain't just a bite. All right. And then also, this can go back onto the no calorie foods that we talked about in the beginning. So it's literally just stacking these questions on top of each other to be able to be like, yeah, no, I don't want that because I'm going to feel this way. Even with BLTs, it's going to throw you off. If you're having a few a day, you could be somewhere anywhere within the realm of 100 to 300 calories over what you think
Oh
you're
yeah,
actually
at
putting in.
least.
Yeah.
Depending how big your mouth is.
Like if I just had a BLT of all of these pies back here, eventually it's
Yeah.
gonna add up. So
yeah, and I don't want to like get squirrely, but I think that it's like that whole BLT situation does so much more harm than people realize in them being consistent and achieving like either fat loss or, just being consistent in general. It's so bad. So bad. And
Well,
I know firsthand because I've one day have tracked BLTs just as an experiment, and it was like almost 1,000 calories
I believe
because it was what I was BLTing, right?
right.
A crumble cookie, a donut, a piece of pizza, like all
Right.
that, it adds up so fast.
It does.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think if we can shift our focus onto like it being good and bad foods, or being like, this food is going to make me feel better tomorrow for my workout. Also, a lot of the times this is emotional.
Oh,
Okay.
most of the time.
Most of the time. Yes.
Yeah.
So you also have to kind of think of like, where am I at emotionally? Am I just reaching out for this because I need some satisfaction right now? Because ultimately you're going to be less satisfied and almost guilty about it later on, when you're like, either one, you have to track it, or two, you have to tell your coach like you didn't do that, or three, you're like, wow, I made all this progress this week and I just shot it down this weekend by all these BLTs and or saying yes to something that wouldn't get you closer to your goals.
Yeah, for sure. Any questions on that? I just think when we're like deeply tracking, or like we have clients who are obviously deeply tracking, it gets very challenging to track BLTs. And so I just don't even want to do it because I'm like, I don't want to have to figure out how to put in 1/8 of a slice of pizza. And like, it's just like too much, So I just forego it. And I'm like, if I'm going to have a piece of pizza, then I'm just going to have a fucking piece of pizza. And like, we're going to put that in and we're going to move on. The next meal is probably going to be egg whites.
On top, yes.
But
on top of that, so that's another thing too, is it's like, if you do find yourself in this spot where you're like, there's no way I can say no, order half of what you would have gotten.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get all of the things, get one thing.
And we've done that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like we do that often, where like, find a buddy or, somebody, if you're going out with or whatever, and just be like, look, I really want to fuck up a piece of pizza, or I really want to have a burrito, but I don't want to eat the whole thing. I just need to get it out of my system. That's generally what it is, because after like bite 3 and 4, it's the same flavor over and over again. And now you're just eating it because it's there. And you're like, well, I got to finish this. Right. So a lot of times her and I will split 2 meals. I'll be like, let's get something like the good angel and the devil are right here. And they're like fighting. So, we'll get a burrito, we'll split it, and then we'll do something else that's like a chicken salad or something like that. And then we get the best of both worlds.
Yep.
And it's, and you feel satisfied. You'll feel satisfied.
Totally.
Okay. Any other questions on that?
Yeah, I just want to say, I personally, I don't have a huge problem saying no to myself, but especially around the holidays, I feel like I'm not a huge drinker, and it's constantly this game of like having to explain to everyone like why you're not drinking, which is and maybe there's a question on that, like, how do you say no to others when you're getting peer pressure? Because
Yeah.
it's just an interesting scenario when you walk into a party where everyone's drinking and you just don't want to.
Right.
And then you say no, and everyone needs an explanation as to why you're not drinking, which is,
Right.
I could go on a rant about that, but
For
I'll
sure.
save-
No, we battle this all the time. I'll tell you my hack, but don't tell my friend because
Shoot.
I know some of y'all be knowing this person. Okay. So if you follow me and you see me tag Insta Awesome, her and I are like, we're BFFs, right? She's been like one of my closest friends for almost 8-9 years now. She's also one of my athletes. She's also Kelly Hadlin. Don't you be laughing. You better not tell her. Okay. But she's one of my athletes. She's one of my biggest transformation stories. She's a client at the studio. She's 55, amazing human. If you don't follow her, you should, because she's pretty funny. But when she's not in prep, she likes to have fun. And that includes having a couple cocktails a few nights per week. That's not my jam. I don't operate well like that. The next day I'm a grumpy ass bitch and like my workouts suffer. She can somehow, she's Frank the Tank. Okay. I don't know. But so when I go out with her, we meet up and I get there about 15 minutes before her and I order a drink that looks very similar to hers. And I look at the bartender and I say, yo, Jordan, I'm not drinking tonight. Make her think I am. Okay. And so he just keeps coming and she's over here enjoying herself, feeling great, feeling tipsy. And she's like, oh, she keeps looking at me. She's like, I got to keep up with you. I guess I have to have another one. And I'm like, I'm drinking soda water with watermelon juice. And she's like all, in her best life, living her best life. But I mean, that's kind of the extreme of things. It should in a simple world, just be like, I'm not drinking. I just don't feel like it. Right. But sometimes you just don't want to deal with the back and forth. And she will literally twist my arm until it's broken off to have a drink. Okay. This is the ultimate peer pressure friend. And so I just started doing this, but I can't tell you how many times that I've been in prep 16 where I've just been like, I'm not drinking. I'm in prep or I'm doing this or whatever. And it's always the same thing. And the same goes for food. And I don't know if any athletes here have experienced this who have competed where they're like, oh, come on, you can have one cookie. You can just have one bite. You could just have one. You can just have one. And then it's a thing. And I just tell everybody like, no, it's a gateway drug for me to continue having more and going off track. So I don't know if Coach Glitter has any good tips for this. We're pretty firm in our word if we say we're not drinking, if we're in a deficit or a cut or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's kind of, you just have to make a mocktail, change the subject, talk about them. The more that you talk about somebody else, the less they're going to talk about you and what you're doing.
Yeah. And also
weird, but it's the way to kind of put the focus off of you and onto somebody else. And, this is probably something that we're going to just have to deal with because Diane's been doing this for a long time. Whenever I'm not drinking, it's kind of a thing as well, but it's like, you just have to be strong in the fact that you're like, no, that I'm okay. Thank you.
That, or I've had so many of these situations. I mean, it depends on who I'm hanging out with and the scenario, but there's been times where I'm like, oh, I can't, I'm on antibiotics. No one's going to fucking say shit, Sorry, I'm on antibiotics. I had an infected tooth or something, it depends. If it's somebody I hang out with regularly, I can't pull that shit often, but sometimes I'll just be like, or I'll just say, oh yeah, I'm going to start with water first. And then they get distracted and then they forget. And then, by the time they come back around, I have another seltzer water or Diet Coke or something, or I just tell them, I'm like, oh yeah, there's Malibu in here. How are they going to know?
Mm-hmm.
They're not, unless they're like, let me take a sip. Who's a psycho like that? But you never know. Tina would probably do that. She'd be like, let me taste that. Oh, yeah. Somebody said one of the last parties I attended, I drank a Truly and kept it halfway and used it as a chaser and would split the shots in the can instead of swallowing it. Yeah. I mean, there's ways around it, Who's a psycho like that? Yeah. That's exactly it. Good question though. I appreciate that. Any other questions? Hopefully that was a little helpful, Audrey. I know we have a lot of holiday parties coming up where alcohol's a thing.
I'll tell you another thing. I'd rather have a shot of cookie than a shot of alcohol.
Yeah. See, we're the same way. Amanda and I are the same way. I don't know. Alicia, you would rather have food or alcohol?
Food.
Right
now, she's missing her carbs. She wants food right now.
She's hungry.
she's in a deficit. Yeah, I'm very much like that too. Where I'm more of a foodie, where I would want to spend my calories on something sweet that's gonna be tasty than a drink if I had to pick one or the other. Okay. Another good question we had was the other one, Amanda, that you said you wanted to tackle on the training, because you're like the planning queen.
How did you know? I have it all written down in front of me right now.
Yeah,
So
because that's you.
Hi.
Mm-hmm.
My planner's here too, just in case you guys were wondering.
If you're lifting 3 to 4 days a week, do you do all your days in a row, or do you have a rest day in between?
Yes.
This came from a studio client.
This is going to depend on your schedule ultimately and what you feel like you can keep to. All right. So just as like a rule, you shouldn't be training the same muscle within 2 days, especially if you have only 3 to 4 days that you're actually in the gym lifting. You should be able to have like a rest day in between here and there. So this is going to depend on everybody's schedule, but it depends on your split as well. If you're doing like 3 to 4 days, it'll probably be about 2 lower body days and 2 upper body days. I would do like a low and an upper, maybe cardio on the next day, and then it would be like low and a full body. And then you get the weekend off, right? If you're training Monday through Friday. You can kind of split that up. It just depends. For me, I like to get the hard stuff done in the beginning of the week. So cardio, I try not to miss cardio in the beginning, because then when I run out of weekend or I run out of week and I'm like, oh, I missed a cardio. So I do that in the beginning of the week because I feel like ultimately like I have the most energy to do that. Don't train the same body parts in 2 days, like one day and the next day. If you need to have like one day in between, that's okay. If you're like, I'm busy, so I have a couple of clients that do like runs at work that are like 3 to 4 days long. They will train on their days off, so then they get 3 to 4 days off. So ultimately it kind of depends on your schedule, when you're training, when you can get the most sleep. But the biggest rule is don't train the same body part in 2 days. Try and have 2 days of rest before you get back onto that same body part. You should be able to recover almost fully before you hit that body part one more time.
Love that.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Any questions on training? Any training related questions that pertains to sort of the similar like splits, and y'all got it? Y'all have it under control. Y'all are good.
Yeah, everybody's like, we've got this. You guys have already told us what to do.
Exactly. Love that.
Good.
Okay. One other question that came through was from a client that asks, my husband wants to lose weight too, so he's just been eating everything that I eat. Should I have him do a consult with you? I think this is a really great start. I think that's in a best case scenario, that's the byproduct of you guys choosing to improve your health and fitness, is that your partners also join in the party. But that's not always the case. Sometimes they're like, I don't want to eat any of that, right? Who has that experience? Anybody? Or their partners? I know Caitlin's told me this story. Jen, your man is like, heck no. Audrey, no. Okay. Yeah, that was my ex-husband. So try competing forever and ever. And he's like over here with Little Caesars pizzas. Alicia knows that. Yeah. So I think that's a great start for sure, because ultimately, when the whole household is on board, you're only going to be breeding some really great health, results, fat loss, and all those things. And if you have kids, obviously the domino effect to them as well. Men are just a little bit different. Their needs are going to be different. And obviously with the demands that they have, and they can typically eat a lot more than us. Boo. I don't work with men a ton. I have sporadically. I mean, my own sons are my living testaments to that too. Alicia's husband actually is fantastic with male clients, because that's his 99% of his clientele. So I would say if you have a hubby that's like interested or will be coming up in like, January or whatever, definitely get on board with him. He does a similar structure, right, Alicia? Like his day one training is very similar to what we do in terms of like diet coaching and stuff. And he has his own amazing transformation.
Yeah. Online nutrition. He does in-person personal training here in Modesto. He's very hands-on and very thorough.
Yeah. And he writes training programs too. Yeah. for
He
all my
does.
clients. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So that's a really great start. But I think, just of course, like meal prepping, letting him, eat the same things is a great start. And if he really wants to dial in further, I would definitely, hit up Alicia's hubby if you're interested, for sure.
And you can let me know too, message me, find me on Instagram, wherever, and I can direct you to him.
All right. Awesome. Love that. Okay. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Jen says her hubby wants me to meal prep for him, but then he'll be eating all the fatty snacks. He's a snack monster. Aren't we all, Jen? Yeah, it's a thing. I
My
love that
husband
he's bored.
is the same way. It's the same. He had one of those McDonald's pies for breakfast.
There you go.
David. It's fine. It's fine. All right, let's dive into, so that was, I think, most of the questions. I don't want to take up too much of the time, but I want to dive into like some holiday eating stuff. I know we've kind of dumped a lot of other random tips and stuff in here. So I'm going to give just kind of like a very general overview. I know we have a lot of different walks of life here. We have in-person clients that aren't doing nutrition. We have nutrition clients, we have athletes. So it's a collective group of you all, but all with essentially, the same goal in mind, which is to, improve your eating habits over the long haul and make it lifestyle. So what I generally do, and I try to have my clients do during the holidays for nutrition, is working around their high calorie days. So, knowing if you have an office party, obviously Thanksgiving, I think it's a fool's game to just throw all of your, like, I'm just not going to do anything till January 1st because you got Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve and Christmas and New Year's, like 4 days is going to just mean you just throw everything out the door. Right. And I know things are busy and, life gets crazy and you have a lot of things on your plate generally around the holidays. But when it comes to your nutrition, I think there's a few things that you can do to really maximize your maintenance mode right now when you're not trying to be crazy dieting, not go off the charts with your eating. And one we already talked about, which is realizing that this is not an optimal time of the year for most of us to be in a calorie deficit or a diet, right? I say to most of my clients, in fact, most of my check-ins this week was like, you're not dieting on Thanksgiving. Okay. Like we're going to talk about your macros when we get to that week, but we're not dieting on Thanksgiving. Let's coast through, the holidays, eat within a maintenance mode, and use these calories to build the muscles that you want to reveal in the summer, which we already talked about. Step one is a fool's game would to be stop training, weight training, and just like do cardio. Because you're eating in a surplus. And while like cardio is very, like you get that instant, like, oh, I'm sweating, it's working, right? Like that instant feedback from cardio session. And you may not get that from weight training, right? I always hear the girls, why do I burn more calories during cardio than I did, during my weight training? And it's like two different energy systems that you have to think about that are working. And the one that we want to focus on, which is why most of you are here, to reshape your body and like build lean, sexy muscle, is your muscle. So just ignore the calorie burn on your watches, really, for the most part, when it comes to that, and focus on like training hard, feeling well fed, feeling energized, and using that for your lifts. Plan your training around your big eating days. So I'm going to go into that a little bit. And this is what we do as bodybuilders in general, but just like, as you're going to like reshape and change the shape of your body, is making sure that, so let's use Thanksgiving as an example, because that's what's coming up first, right? So generally speaking, we'll train really hard the day before Thanksgiving. Why? Because you're going to deplete those big muscle groups, preferably like some lower body stuff, glutes, hamstrings, quads. You're going to deplete those muscle groups, right? You're going to then hit Thanksgiving Day, and you're going to replenish them with all the fun Thanksgiving foods. Ideally, it would be great if you could also train on Thanksgiving as well. These 3 days I'm going to talk about. So the day before, the day of, the day after are great days to do like legs the day before, the day of like back, shoulders, like maybe hit a full upper body. And then the third day, the day after, glutes. right? And this is gonna be different for everybody. Some people are really trying to build their quads right now or whatever. And I kind of guide my clients that way based off of like, where do you really want to deplete a muscle group and refill it up with those Thanksgiving foods? So that's one thing to consider. But some other things to consider are going to be the day before Thanksgiving, you'll probably be more motivated and easier to get it done early, especially if you're hosting Thanksgiving and you have a shit ton of things to do, or you have to travel out of town or whatever. Getting it done early, first thing in the day. The day of Thanksgiving, we will be having some training sessions at the studio to aid you in this process. Okay. So we'll be there training, but even if you're on your own, the day of Thanksgiving might be a little more challenging, but again, knock it out first thing in the morning before you have your feast. And then the day after is probably going to be the harder day, right? Like maybe you had some drinks, maybe you're feeling bloated, you have a little more inflammation from all the foods. But even worst case scenario, if you get, those 2 days knocked out, great. Just leave those days behind you. And we're not getting in the gym to burn off what we ate. Like that's just nonsense. You'll have to be there for like 3 days straight. Okay. If you enjoy like a typical Thanksgiving feast. So we're getting in there to just train, stay in your habits, stay consistent, know that you're going to be enjoying some excess calories, and then we just leave it behind you. Right. Number 2, or actually number 3, the day of your feast, right? Thanksgiving, whatever, if you do like New Year's or Christmas Eve or Christmas, whatever, this is one mistake I see a lot of clients make. And I used to be guilty of this too, is do not starve yourself, meaning I'm just going to fast because I'm going to have a really big meal later. Don't do that. It ends up worse for you in the end because you will end up eating everything under the sun because you'll be starving and you'll have this like FOMO, right? Like fear of missing out, like, oh, these foods aren't going to be here till next year. And like, it starts just to kind of get in your head. So what I do and what I coach my clients to is, sticking to your macros up until it's time for that meal. So if you get up, usually have breakfast. If you eat 2.5, 3 hours later, do that again, and just kind of reverse engineer from when you think you're going to have your like Thanksgiving dinner. And let me tell you, you will eat a lot less than you would have had you just fasted and wanted to gorge your face off on Thanksgiving. Am I right? Anybody agree with that? It's a thing. Okay. The only, like I would say for my athletes or like my competitors who maybe have like a spring show coming up and they're going to be in prep come December 1st, which is right around the corner. One thing I usually have them do is I tell them, okay, you're going to have your Thanksgiving meal. I still want you to eat just protein and veggies, like for breakfast, meal 2 or whatever. And we're going to go pretty low carb, like until that meal. So you can enjoy that meal, but you're still hitting your protein targets and you still don't go too crazy, like off the radar with your Thanksgiving meal. Okay. If you decide to train that day, if that's one of your training days and you are an athlete who's going to be prepping for early shows, then I always say like have some pre-training carbs. So you go in with like a little, like couple rice cakes or something like that. But other than that, like you're going to still eat protein and veggies for sure. And then last but not least, and these are just like super like overarching tips and things, but enjoy that meal without guilt, which is super hard for a lot of us to do. Like, oh God, I'm going to have to be in the gym for, oh my God, this is probably this many calories. And you start just going through, and I know because I've done it 100 times, 100 times over when I've been in preps around the holidays. And it's really just like, be with those people. Don't pull out your phone. Don't be trying to calculate it in MyFitnessPal. Just be present, enjoy it, savor the taste, the flavors, and like leave it behind you. And, do not weigh yourself the next day. Okay. We don't do that. Probably stay off the scale for a couple of days. And then bonus tip is, and this is always a hard one, is, getting rid of leftovers or not taking leftovers home with you that are going to trigger you to want to keep eating the thing. So like, if you're like, I want that pecan pie, Joey, I want that pecan pie. Okay. Have your slice and don't take any home, or give it to your guests to take with them. So it's not lingering. And you're going to be like, it's for the kids. No, bitch, it's for you. You know that. You're going to be sneaking eating that shit before bed. Okay. So, So just know that food's always going to be there. Enjoy it, savor it, and then move on from it. So those are my kind of sped up holiday eating tips and strategies.
Did y'all get that? Because I have a little, it's so do not restrict. It's not all or nothing. Practice mindfulness, hydrate, and plan ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Love that.
That's
much so.
all you got to do for that.
Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Kind of like planning your training around, the big day that you're going to eat. Don't go in starving. Like Amanda said, stay hydrated, stick to your routine as best as you can amongst all the things that you have to do, and, enjoy the meal and move on. No guilt.
Right. And then if you don't have access to a gym, right? Say you're cooking or you're out of town or you don't have access to a gym, don't let early morning walk and getting your steps in not feel like it's doing something. Okay. Even if like you're up and you're making the turkey at 4 a.m. or whatever y'all cook or do, people do. I don't know about that, but
who is a 4 a.m. turkey cooker person? Oh my God, Jen, Anna.
I'm going to give
says,
y'all
heck
a
no.
little hand. Okay. So
No.
the turkey's not going to do anything while it's in the oven. Go for a walk. It ain't going anywhere. Okay.
We like it extra crispy anyways. We like
Yeah.
turkey.
Don't underestimate just getting your steps in, because obviously, you're going to be busy. You're going to be running around. But if you can just find like 20, 30 minutes for yourself, you can get out of the family thing. Cause I don't know about you, but a lot of people and a lot of family, you need just like a second. 20 minutes will be great. You'll come back. You'll feel refreshed. The turkey's going to be ready. There you go.
Yeah. And maybe you might be that annoying person that starts a new holiday trend where we all go for a walk after our meal.
Oh yeah. The turkey trot. That's a thing. I forgot.
Yeah. Some people will do that too. They do like a little 5K the day of or whatever, just something to kind of keep you, feeling good about, moving your body before you have a big ass meal, for sure. Okay. So my coaches, other tips, Alicia, you got some? Anything else?
I think if you're going to someone else's house and you don't really know, I mean, obviously you're going to know what's there, right? Typical Thanksgiving things. Bring a healthy dish to share and don't feel like you have to announce it. You don't have to be like, oh, this is healthy. Like,
this is my diet turkey.
Yeah. Because that's just
my diet muffins.
Yes. Going back to like people asking you like, oh, like, why would you bring that? Or why don't you do this? Or why aren't you eating this? Like, just bring it. Don't feel like you have to announce it. And that way you can enjoy it and you can have the other things too. Right. Also, when you're about to get your plate, like you're ready for Thanksgiving, you're going to fill your plate. Start with proteins. Like focus on your proteins. There's going to be plenty of turkey. Maybe there's some ham, like things you don't typically eat. Perfect. Grab some of that. Next, go for your veggies. They're probably going to be doused in butter, but some veggies are better than nothing, right? And then go for your carbs. So focus on getting like one plate, fill it up, and maybe try not to have a second plate. Like save that second plate for some dessert. And it's even better if you even bring a dessert that it's like somewhat along the lines of healthy. You can make some healthy swaps there. And there's so many things on Pinterest that you can just make swaps for: butter, oil, eggs, that sort of thing. That's kind of my favorite. But yeah, just load up your plate with proteins and then one plate of dessert. Kind of eyeball what's looking at you, get it, and be satisfied with that. And don't try to overgorge yourself. Like Miss Diane said, just because you feel like you're going to miss out, like, oh, I'm not going to eat this for another year. You're probably going to have it a few times until the end of the year. There's holiday parties. There's not only like this one big Thanksgiving meal. You're going to be going outings, like socializing. And socializing always revolves around food, around alcohol, that sort of thing. Like just limit what you can and be satisfied with that. Because you're going to wake up the next morning and feel so much better. Even that night, like everyone's going to be rolling around on the floor, like stomachs all out, like, oh God.
Yeah.
Can hardly move.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a psycho, you could just wear tight pants to Thanksgiving, but I ain't be doing that. I'm just letting you know, stretch your pants over here.
I'm not that dedicated.
You'd be wearing your standing pants, not your sitting
Yeah, the
pants.
standing pants. You know those ones where you're like, I can't sit down on these pants. Button's gonna go flying. For sure. For sure. Really great tips. That's actually that was like right. Forgot about that. Is prioritizing, when you start at the assembly line or wherever your turkey day has you, whether you're at a table or whatever, is starting with the protein. I know a lot of people are into like prime rib and things like that too. Like load up on that shit, because that's what your muscles are made of. And that's going to satiate you faster and talk some sense into your brain to stop earlier than if you just start with the carbs.
Yeah, that's ultimately with any meal. Every day.
Yeah, definitely.
You guys. So like whenever you're looking at a meal, I know like for us, it's always like, ooh, what is the carb going to be today?
Yeah.
So change your brain. Don't be thinking about that first. Be thinking about your protein and your veg, and then be like, okay, how can I top this off with a carb? Not putting your thoughts around that carb for that meal.
Exactly.
Yeah, not grabbing 3 pieces of bread to start out with.
Oh,
I forgot about the bread.
is that a triple the triple decker?
I feel so attacked right now. No. Awesome. Okay, Amanda, did you have any other bonus ones, or we got them all?
You hit it on the head right there with that. That was
okay.
Basically what I was going to say.
Perfect. So any other lingering questions? I'm going to dive into like the No Gain November challenge board, which I'm so excited about, but any other questions, and you can, of course, plug them in there as we go along. Or you can raise your hand or type them in the chat box, and we'll brainstorm for you. Let's see. I had one. Oh, recommendations for mocktails. Ora Bora sparkling water. Have never heard of that. Sounds delicious. Lavender cucumber. Sign me up. Cactus rose, elderflower, grapefruit. Sounds delicious. I've been really loving those Hyo drinks, which have a lot of nootropics in them, and they're just very like chill vibes. Really fun. I love those. And I think they have a lot more coming out that are very similar. Okay, I'm going to try something really fancy right now, so bear with me because it's been a minute. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see the challenge board, and I'm going to talk about it. So essentially, it's going to run starting today. So start your engines, ladies. And it's going to go through December the 2nd. So it's going to be No Gain November. Really, the idea is just doing some fun, maybe different out of the box things, like being able to connect with like-minded people because sometimes who feels alone sometimes in this journey. Maybe you don't have anybody friends that are super into fitness or in your household or whatever, right? So you can, follow us all on Instagram and tag us when you do one of the activities, and then your other friends will repost you, and then your other friends will be like, ooh, I recognize that hashtag. And then you can all follow each other. And, it's a nice way to have a little spot of the social media world to have like-minded people who are also just trying to get through the holidays and not totally be a train wreck. So let me try to share my screen here, and I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to show you. I think I'm going to do this right. Hold on a second. Okay.
You did it.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. Let me. No, let's try that again. Okay. We're here. All the teachers are screaming right now. I know it. They're like, what are you doing? I think this is the wrong. Hold on. Where are we at? Okay. Right here. Let me move my big ass head over here. Let's see. Okay. We're going to go back because I did this little cute thing and I have to show you guys because, it's fancy. So there's your friends, and that's me. And I care about y'all because I want you to be making some changes that last a lifetime. And really all of this is about, you guys, is habit change more than anything. Wouldn't you say, coaches? Like it's a lot of just like changing old habits. And that's the hardest part because we're like, used to interacting with ourselves the same way forever and ever. And so a lot of times these challenges are great because you'll find something that you're like, oh, this is easy to do. I could do this every day. And it's just like really the accumulation of those things over and over again that end up getting you to a spot where you feel really comfortable with your healthy lifestyle. So in case you haven't met Coach Ish, there she is, super cute. I know her. Coach Glitters, has her own story too. So for those of you that don't know, she once was 300 pounds. So she's also understood and gone through all these things too. I'm going to link this up so you can also check this out. But so there's your little board, and I'm going to print this out. I'll have some at the studio. I'm also going to throw the link in the chat box here once I'm done sharing this with you guys. As far as being able to like screenshot it, so you don't have to print it out if you're like, you don't have a printer or whatever. But you can screenshot it and just, follow along. I personally like to print stuff like this out and just put it somewhere where I'm going to see it every morning, like on my refrigerator, by the coffee pot, at my desk, somewhere like that. But essentially, follow us all on Instagram so you can tag all of us if you want. But if you have your regular coach, you can tag them as well. And how this works is posting in your stories. So that's the most hot spot where people hang out now on Instagram more than the actual feed. So posting in stories, if you're super unfamiliar with that, or you're like, I don't know how to do that, but I kind of want to learn, hit one of us up and we can totally show you. It's super easy. Tag your coach, use the hashtag. So just real two things, that you have to do is tag them in that story, showing what you're doing. Now, we don't want you to show us you initiating sexy time with your partner or yourself. We'll just take your word for that one. But other things on here that are like, it's not just about like, here's your diet, here's your workout, follow that, you'll be successful. It's everything else that goes on around you. The things that you're like intaking in, the things that you're not, maybe you're not doing, you're not having conversations, you're not expanding, your own like knowledge base with certain things. And so you kind of get in like a rut. And so there's a lot of just crazy, weird things on here to maybe some people, and some pretty easy things, right? Like add 2 reps to any exercise. Super easy. Y'all train, you know how to do that. Take a bath or an extra long shower. And just tagging us in these, crossing them off on your sheet, and then turning them in. And that could be virtually through a DM on Instagram or through your coach through the portal if you have nutrition coaching with them. And at the end, we're going to do a little raffle. We have some gift cards, some Fit Kitchen stuff, sessions at Venus, and we're going to raffle off some VersaGrip. So we're hoping we get, some girls that partake and submit and want to join us in this like fun little thing. So I'm going to link that up for you guys here in the chat box in a second, and then you'll be able to, print it out for yourself. So
Yeah,
I'm excited about that.
For our ditch ladies that aren't local, we'll have some things for you guys too. So don't think that you guys are not included just because you're not local.
For
We'll
sure.
make it happen.
Yep.
And I think that's it for that. And then some things that are coming up. Leisha, why don't you tell us a little bit about, so we have some local things coming up here through Venus, but the little like pampering day at Mena's. So we have a client.
Miss Mena, Mena Toe and Salon is off Pellendale, I believe. In Modesto. We're gonna have December 4th a like blowouts, sips, and shopping. There'll probably be they'll have some hairstylists there that you can get your hair done. I believe that's a Sunday, so like your hair done will be done for the week, which will be nice. She has a cute little boutique in there, so a little bit of shopping, get your hair done, feel pampered, and you'll be able to come hang out with us ladies. There might be some alcohol involved and some appetizers, but it'll be fun. A nice little hangout for us.
Awesome. I love that. And Mena's, she's been a client for, I don't know, probably 3-4 years now, over at Venus. And she's always super, super sweet in training sessions, and we want to support her local business. So that'll be a fun time for us. So let's like chill, hang out, and do some pampering things around the holidays early in the day, and then maybe go shopping or something after. I don't know. Do we do that? I think we just Amazon everything now, don't we?
We do.
Well,
Who does real shopping?
it's much more successful.
Kelly, you do real shopping?
I've had to take things back every time I've gone, and I'm just not loving that very
I don't
much.
love that either. Okay, some other fun things that are coming up. I don't have hard dates just yet, but we will in the next, probably we want to do another one of these, likely in December. So we'll have another date coming up, which is like some different topics. We hope that this is helpful to you, for you guys to just kind of maybe sometimes even hear some of the things that you already know over and over again to like affirm like, okay, I'm doing that right. Oh yeah, I'm doing that. That's great. You know, but some other things that are coming up, we will be opening up ditch deprivation again, which is obviously our nutrition coaching program or diet coaching program in January. However, all of our members, our studio members, are always welcome to sign up whenever. So if that's something that you want to do, you know, you're always welcome to do that. And if you have friends that are super interested, you can always hit up your coach too, and we can get them on board, but we won't be like opening to the public until January. So that will be coming. Glute camp will be coming again. I know you ladies love that. And then we will be doing a body fat testing. The guy comes out in the dunk tank, I think, January 21st. And that's just hydrostatic body fat testing. So if you're ever being like, oh, like what's one of the better ways? There's several different ways to test your body fat. One of the top three that I would think is the hydrostatic body fat testing. And that's where they just dunk you underwater. It's like this much water, folks. It's not a ton. And then you like exhale all your air out, and it essentially tells them how much muscle to body fat that you have. So he comes out and just pulls up like in a trailer at the studio, and we'll be doing that on January 21st. And then the most exciting thing that I have that I'm excited about is that we're launching the Goddess Body Project, which is a 12-week transformation program starting, it'll start January 30th. So essentially, for those of you that are like training at the studio, but you're not doing the nutrition, or like you're doing nutrition, but you're not doing the training, this is like the best of both again together. And we're going to be a lot harder on the folks that go through this program, because it's like our mock competition prep program. So it's like, if you've ever wanted to compete, we're going to put you through the rigors of like what that would look like with like your diet, your cardio, checking in with your coach every week. You know, you're training at the studio 3 days a week. And then we have something similar for online folks as well. So if you're like, well, I do the nutrition, but I don't do the training piece, you know, that'll be something that'll be offered up for you ladies as well. If you already work with a coach just on your diet, and then they can have you checking in weekly, get you a training program and all that fun stuff. So that'll be coming very, very soon. So I'm very excited about that. We did that a couple years ago, and then COVID got crazy, but we had like 30 people enrolled, and it was absolutely nuts, and it was fantastic. So that's where a lot of the transformations start. That's where a lot of the girls get their like feelers on competing, and it's a lot. Goddess Body Project, is it good to join if you're already working with a personal trainer? Well, Alexis, I know you're local, so you would be coming into the studio for 36 training sessions with us. So that is included as part of that, as well as your diet coaching. So that would be like a combination. Otherwise, if you're working with a trainer outside of Venus, then you're probably just going to be doing the nutrition. Denise, the program is 12 weeks. So we all start together on January the 30th. And it's going to run through April the 24th. So, Jen, take my money. What I'm doing is, because Alicia and Amanda are going to head up this program from the nutrition piece of it, we're going to let members take first dibs on spots, because we already have nutrition clients, and it becomes a lot. Plus they also work in the studio. So we're probably only going to take 30, and I have 3 people who've already enrolled with a deposit just to save their spots. So we'll open it up to the public and whatnot. But if you know for sure you want to partake, let me know. We're just trying to get a head count of members before we open it up and allow the masses to join. Because the first of the year becomes crazy for us, as you can imagine, in the fitness space. So that'll be fun. So yeah, you'll be checking in with them every single week virtually, like I do with my athletes. Like, let's see who's here. Claire, Kaylin's done it. Joey does it. Alicia, Amanda, Audrey, Tiffany, who else? Also my crazy friends. Yeah. So, it makes a difference checking in every single week, and your coach looking at your progress photos and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it'll be a good time. So Fun times. And Griselda says, I'm in. So yeah, definitely hit me up and we can get you on the list, at least so I can keep you on the radar for enrollment and all that fun stuff. So you guys, any lingering questions? How was this? Was this helpful? Was this okay? Feedback? Anything else? No questions? We're good. You're ready to move on with your Sunday? Well, thank you guys. Thank you so much for participating and joining in. We'd like to keep these rolling. We got off track with them for a little bit, but we know that sometimes, especially for our clients at the studio who just, they come, they train, they don't have a show. They don't have anything like, pulling them and like, thinking about that this morning. I was like, a lot of folks who don't have a show on the books, right? Or I'm getting married or I have this crazy vacation. You're just like, you're training, right? You go in, you train, you eat. You're like, I don't really have anything I'm preparing for, which is totally fine. But I think in most things in our life, we have like a goal. Like you go into work and you know why you're there, right? You're like, at the end of the day, I need to make these 10 sales calls, or I need to close these accounts, or I need to do the thing. And so your brain is wired to like focus on the tasks that need to be done for that to happen. And sometimes when we get into like the health and fitness space and we're just doing it to be healthy, it's nice to have like a targeted goal or, a group of like-minded people that are like, oh, okay, this is why I'm doing this, right? It's for the greater good. So, Alexis, yeah, you could totally do the Goddess Body Project along with that for sure. It would work well in tandem, definitely. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much for joining in. I appreciate you taking your Sunday to hang out with us and, ask all the good questions. So have a great week. Find us on Instagram. Let's kick off this challenge. I want to see who's going to tag me first today. And I will actually email that to you guys as well. So have a great Sunday and let's get ready for a great week. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.